But right now, here is something very different from you in the form of a Hind helicopter. To tell you all of that, welcome back, Ben Donnell.
Thanks, George. This is the Czech Air Force with their second item of the day, and it's the Mi-35 Hind. Weapons this, the Hind, a helicopter that would have supported a Warsaw Pact armed advance into Western Europe across the North German plain, which is their main axis of advance. If, of course, the Cold War turned hot, something prevented by the likes of the Vulcan that we've just seen. There's an interesting feature of this helicopter. It's not just an attack helicopter like the Apache, it also has a certain degree of transport capability as well, and it was initially foreseen that the troops on board in the cabin would be able to mount small arms in the helicopter's side windows. The first flight of the prototype was in September 1969, and 3 years later it came into service with the Soviet Army. Of course, being a battlefield helicopter for operations in that environment, it incorporates a large amount of armour plating to protect both the crew and any soldiers who may be on board. Pulling up the speed wing over to commence its displays. Profile with those two cockpits up front, stepped up, gunner sits up, the pilot in the raised position behind. The Hind wasn't always like that. Initially they had a rather large glazed area up front, but that wasn't very popular, so it was soon changed. This is the Mi-35, which is the export version of the Mi-24V, because the Mi-24 is perhaps the more familiar designation of this helicopter, and this was the most numerous variant, with over 1,500 being made. The Rostvertol plant at Rostov-on-Don in Russia. You can see that at present the undercarriage on this Czech Hind is retracted, while the modern ones being built, which are rather different beasts, in fact has been given a fixed undercarriage. Of course they have rather more advanced avionics and weaponry at their disposal. In pretty much every conflict from the late 1970s onwards, we see the undercarriage now coming down, in which Soviet or Soviet-backed forces operated. The Hind was there. First of all, with Ethiopia in their war against Somalia in the late 70s, and particularly when the Soviets invaded Afghanistan in 1979 to 80, and that really helped us perfect the operational experience against their Thankfully, it didn't come to that, and these Hinds now very much NATO assets. Went to the Czech Air Force when Czechoslovakia split up, and then since they've had more delivered from Russia as new. That was in part payment of a Russian debt. They generally use them now for close air support sorties, and the Czechs have also assisted the new Afghan Air Force as they've built up operations, supplying them with a number of Hinds, as well as assistance in pilot training. Just 17 of them are in use now, with the 221st Helicopter Squadron based at Náměšť nad Oslavou. flown in the recent conflicts in Libya, Syria and the Crimea, amongst other locations. Service with the Czech Air Force, which has modernised extensively in recent years, receiving the likes of the Saab Gripen fighter and the Aero L159 that we saw earlier. And they haven't got that long in service left, these helicopters. It'll be a sad day when they go. Very popular machine with its pilot to this day, used extensively in multinational exercises, not least the NATO Tiger Meets, of which the 221st Helicopter Squadron is a regular participant in. I was at a NATO Tiger Meet at Ørland in Norway a couple of years ago, where the Czech Hinds were being used to support Italian Agustabel AB-212 helicopters in combat search and rescue missions in the Norwegian mountains. Heading the flight crew today is the pilot in command from the 221st Helicopter Squadron, Major Jan Vanitsky. Also on board today, co-pilot Officer First Class Marek Matlock and flight engineer Vladimir Pospishil. Gear down once again for a rolling landing.
Thank you very much indeed, Ben. We're just shuffling seats and getting commentators.